That is the closest color I have of Brat, and you can't even see it, it's a cactus. And I really wanted to make this video before the Brat madness went away, but I am beginning to realize that it might just not go away because this record is amazing. I am no music reviewer, words are not my thing, but I have been a Charli fan for a while now. This album for me sounds like the definitive Charli XCX album, with a list of incredible producers which includes long-time collaborators like A.G. Cook, EASYFUN, and also some new ones like Hudson Mohawke, incredible producer, and people like El Guincho, the Spanish producer responsible for most of the production from Rosalia's big break album El Mal Querer. So the list of producers goes on. Okay, these are just the ones I know, and this record not just a song, so I feels like a celebration of Sophie, because if it wasn't for Sophie, this whole sound will not exist and will not be as important as it is. So yeah, now that I got this cheesy explanation of why I love this album out of the way, let's imagine for a second that someone comes here and threatens my life saying you have to make a song for Brat using only Ableton stock sounds and samples from samplefocus.com. I already made this song, so what we're gonna do is take a look and analyze what I did. What I do want to clarify is this video is not so much about getting every detail perfect, because otherwise the video could be like 5 hours long. I'm gonna try to make this 10 minutes, let's see. So what we are going to focus is on making a very basic thing and make it sound as good as I can in this limited amount of time. So please take this with a grain of salt. I am not A.G. Cook. And in my case, I'm going to use just drum samples because the rest of the sounds are going to come from Ableton. But on samplefocus.com, what I would recommend if you want some similar sounds to Brat is look for example, kick EDM. So you can find some powerful kicks, and the same with hats. And the most important drum sound that you need are claps. Download a bunch of claps. If you can, EDM claps. We want some big claps, because if you heard Brat, claps are like half of the record at least. Get you some claps. Alright, this is my project. Do you like this? I wish I could make it even more green, but I don't know how. I'm gonna go through this now, sound by sound. What we are interested when approaching a song like this, the claps and the bass need to hit both very hard and tag to each other in a way. Clap, clap. That's not how Brat sounds. And by this, I am not saying that you should invest less time on synths, kicks, etc. I'm just saying that for the sake of this video not being so long, we are going to focus more on the bass and the claps and the feeling of the song, okay? It's not going to be a very complex thing, but that's actually related to how I think we should approach pop music, even if it is like this futuristic version of it. And that's keep it simple, good simple, not lazy simple. Simple patterns, simple melodies, and this is an advice that I'm giving to myself right now. I struggle with that a lot, and I've been producing for a decade now, and I still overcomplicate things. I'm gonna leave the BPM at 120, which is Ableton's default. For this song, I really took inspiration from the album Opener 360, and that's the tempo. Then, the first thing I did was placed all of the drum sounds I got from Sample Focus into this drum rack. Kicks, claps, hats. To this drum rack, I just added a drum bass to the whole drum rack to make it all more tight and strong, but you can add specific effects to each sound once you start working on the pattern. And the first pattern I did was this clap. So this is for me a good way to start the song, because I get inspired, I can imagine melodies, bass. But before going to the bass, what I did is I sampled this clap into an audio channel. If you want to know how, in case you don't know, you can select here audio from, and I just select those claps, Brat drums, and I hit record, okay, and you can record and sample that. And why I did that? That's because I wanted to add like an ambience channel for these claps, and for that I used a hybrid reverb preset called Echo Streets, and this is how it sounds. It's a very dry wetness, you can tell it's a very short reverb. I want the claps to still be very hard hitting, dry, no big spaces. I want to leave those big spaces for the synths. And this short clap reverb reminds me of the Sophie sound. I'm not saying this sounds like that, but after this I chose my first bass preset, and that preset is called 808 Drifter. From the Drift instrument. I don't know if I'm pronouncing drift correctly. I realized when I placed this bass that this LFO thing amount was way up, and I was noticing like this movement that I don't like. I want this bass to be static, so I just located that. So yeah, this is just a little tip. If you sometimes hear something wrong, if it's movement, most of the time it's going to be an LFO, so just look for it, try. I just decreased the amount and I got the bass that I wanted. So this is my bass pattern, and it's the very most basic bass pattern that you can think of in pop music. I did this with the K-Tornado video. I'm gonna show you that it's not hard at all. Like, I just recorded on the keyboard. Very simple. You don't need to get crazy with it. I am no music theory expert, so that's why I'm showing you that. You don't need to go crazy. You can just play 4 notes and it's going to work. So when I had this along with the clap, I was like, maybe this is it, right? Does this sound like Brat? And I was like, well, I mean, so I went and listened to 360 again, and I was like, oh boy, I know that song is mixed and mastered by industry legends, but oh my god, this bass is not it at all. Like, it sounds good on its own, but go listen to 360 right now and tell me if it sounds anything like this. It doesn't. You don't need to do it, and let me tell you, it doesn't. This bass is very plain. It feels like one-dimensional. It feels boring in a way. So I started to realize that what I needed to do was layering, because I need more attack, I need more stereo, I need this bass to be all over the place. And one mistake that I see a lot of beginners make is try to make this one preset sound like all of that. You can't. You can make it sound good by itself. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you want this bass to be a lot more than what it is, you need some help. So I decided that this was going to be my, let's call it, main bass. So what I did is add an overdrive with 40% dry wet, not too much drive, like 28%, and an EQ, taking out some of these mids, because that is going to come from another sound, and I amplified the lows here. So it sounded like this. So I added overdrive, EQ. For me, that's much better. From now, what I did was just copy this exact pattern, this exact MIDI. It's in all of these basses, okay? It's the same one. So I added this preset called FM Deep Bass. And then I did some EQ, because like I said before, the lows are coming from our 808 drifter. I hate that word. So what I did is take out this, and I realized that what I liked from this FM deep bass, right, this, was this, and a little bit of this. And by itself, it sounds awful. But when you play with the drifter, the 808, it sounds better, it's closer, you know, the 808 was like this, so now it has some attack. So next, I got this house bass, classic from Ableton. I like this bass a lot. But as you can hear, it's like I took out all of the release. It doesn't make sense that I'm using this, right? It sounds super weird, but when I EQ it like this and add some drum bass, we get this hit. So without the hit, with the hit. So this is making the 808 sound like if it was triggered by a kick, and in this part of the song we are not going to have a kick drum, so this is making the 808 stand by itself. By this point I was starting to feel like, okay, maybe this is it now. I was like pretty happy. We had this bass before, so we went from that to this, a lot more clean, and making like just some basic layering. But still, I realized that I was missing the stereo side of the bass. Not all basses need to be stereo. It's just one of the basses. I want to be more spread. And that's when I found this preset that I like a lot too, which is called Humonger Bass. And you can hear this bass, it has some stereo business going on. It even has some delay that I like too. And to this bass, I didn't even add EQ. You let me know if that's a mistake or not, but I just like it the way it is. Now let's listen to all of this. Remember, this is what I had until now. And this is with the humongous bass. Remember when I said before, maybe this is it, maybe this is the Brat sound? No. And I'm not saying this is perfect, by any means. I made this very quickly. So imagine if you spend a day, 2 days, 3 days. So once the bass pattern was done, I found this preset for the synth. Now, this is the part of the whole project that I'm the most insecure about. I don't like this melody a lot. I tried to come up with some sort of pop melody and it was hard. I overcomplicated. I didn't follow the advice that I'm giving to you. This I also recorded mostly with the keyboard, following the same scale, I think. So I recorded myself playing a little bit and then I modified that into this. So I added this little bouncy delay. And I'm still not sure about this sound, but you know what? I had to record, so if I had more time, I would have worked a lot more on this melody. With everything together, it doesn't sound as bad. And like I said before, for me in this tutorial, I didn't want the synth to be the protagonist. Anyway, I spent a lot more time on the bass. But what you should do if you have unlimited time is work as hard on everything, okay? Layer the synth, add more to it. It doesn't need to sound loud, it just needs to sound good. So maybe for a synth, you can add 5 different synths together that are very low on volume, but they sound beautiful. Following the same principle as the song 360, the hook from that song is basically the same as the verses in terms of notes. It just changes the way it's presented, so it feels more big suddenly. So that's what I went with. So for the drums, I just added a kick and an open hat on top of the claps that I had before. With the same layer. For the bass, it's exactly the same, but I added one more. Yeah, this one. Very poppy sound. Without it. Since we are using exactly the same notes, I use this to like differentiate this part from the part before. And another thing I did is I went back to the first part. Please keep up with me, it's just a second. I went back to the first part, and what I did to make that difference more exaggerated is to move the bass pattern only from the first bass, from my main bass, 1 octave up. Okay, so the first, instead of this, the first part is going to be like this. So when we get to the big part of the song, the hook. So let's hear the bass with the drums. I don't love this open hat placement. I am not sure if I got this right or not. There are moments where I think it's perfect, and there are moments where I'm like, what is this? What is this doing here? But I don't want to add more. I want to keep it simple. So for the synth, I got another preset called Arcade Split. I think the synth had more decay, so I just moved that down like this. And what did I do? I copied the melody, select all, copy, paste, move 1 octave, move 1 cell to the right. Okay, and I did that 2 times. So I copied again. So this is the result. Again, with the same delay as before, some stereo here. Next, I found this preset called Sencha Arp. These names are so weird. It sounds like this. It's currently only sounding there because I duplicated this sound and made it stereo. What I did is the delay, the track delay. In this new version of Ableton, you select that here, track options, okay? In case you don't know, Ableton 12 got me lost with these changes. So yeah, I moved this a bit. So instead of being, I just moved this 12. Well, first off, why did I add this? What is this? I got this inspired from one of the sounds that I heard in 360. It's not exactly this, but you know, this is my own version of what I felt, because at the end of the day, I am not trying to make an exact copy, but I'm trying to bring my own thing as well, like what I like. And what I noticed is there was this sound with this note that repeated in the hook, like ta ta da 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 da. If you watch my K-Tronada video or my Neptunes video, I talk about this type of thing that the Neptunes do, which is like make one note repetitive and turn that note into a percussive element of the song, while the song only has like 3 sounds, and that's one of them, and it's like to that ta ta da ta ta da. So that's what this is, kind of. And it's like a good contrast between this and the melody, which is like super crazy with a lot of notes, and this is like pa 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 pa. I want them to sound kind of like one sound in a way. These two sounds are not necessarily talking to each other, but they are coexisting, and it's working. So with the bass and the drums. Okay, there is one more sound. Yeah, I know. When I said keep it simple, I didn't mean don't add sounds. Keep the song simple, but the sound complex. So I added this sound. Isn't this like the coolest sound? It doesn't have any effect. It's called Crunch Arcade. I don't know what's happening with the arcades. Arcade Split, Crunch Arcade. Like, I just want to make a song with this sound. But yeah, I used this. It's doing kind of the same as the bass with fewer notes. Sounds so good. So let's hear all together what I called my hook of this made-up song that we are making. It sounds like this. I think this was a decent attempt from me to try to come up with anything similar to that in the amount of time that I did, which is like an hour, with only Ableton stock presets and sounds from samplefocus.com. Like I said before, these producers from this record are out of this world, innovative. Don't be frustrated if you've been producing for a year and you can't do that. It's normal. But take this as inspiration if you want. I don't know if this was useful or not. You decide, but if it was, please let me know in the comments. Say whatever you want. If you want me to cover any other topic, I would love to. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that. We appreciate it a lot. And remember, samplefocus.com, you get 3 credits every week to download 3 samples. But if you upload your own samples and you contribute to the website, you get 4 credits for each sample that gets approved. So that's the reason why there are tons of sounds on Sample Focus from producers like you and me. Honestly, since I started making these videos, I've been using only Sample Focus to get new samples. It's so easy. I go there, and most of the time, if I'm looking for something specific, it's on samplefocus.com. So thank you for watching. Brat. Yeah. I don't know if anyone saw this channel, but yeah, Charli really is here.
I'm sorry, come shock you.